Today's conversation is one of those that really speaks to the moment so many women, find themselves in during midlife. It's that place where you know you're capable of more and you're done chasing success that just doesn't actually feel aligned anymore. So on today's episode of Midlife Strategies for Badass Women, I'm joined by Anisa Crespo. She's the co-founder of the $1 Million Mom Society and a woman who is completely redefining what visibility, leadership, and legacy can look like for women in business. Anisa is a mother of twins, a woman of deep faith, and an unapologetic visionary who built a 7-figure business in under a year alongside her partner, Natasha Navarro. What makes this conversation powerful is not just what she has built. It's how she talks about leadership, energetics, visibility, and the internal shifts that have to happen before external growth can really stick. We talk about aligning your inner frequency with practical strategy, why visibility is about positioning and not performance, and how women can expand influence without abandoning who they are or what matters most to them. Anisa also shares why legacy matters more than hustle and why midlife is actually the perfect time to step into bigger leadership with clarity and confidence. So, if you're an ambitious woman who feels called to more impact, more influence, or a bigger stage, and wants to grow in a way that feels grounded and authentic, then this conversation will meet you right where you are. So let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Midlife Strategies for Badass Women. I am your host, Sue Willoughby, head or chief, or whatever you want to call me, badass strategist. And today my guest is Anisa Crespo, and she is one of the co-founders of $1 Million Mom Society, which is pretty cool. So I can't wait to get into it with Anisa and hear all about how this all came to be. And I'm not a mom, but I'd like $1 million too. So I want I'm sure you have some business advice for other people, even if they're not mothers.
Absolutely.
All right. And that's great. Well, welcome. And please, I've already introduced you, so I'd like to know a little bit more about you and what was the motivation behind Midlife Mom Society? $1 Million Mom Society.
Yeah, Sue, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today to share with your audience. So $1 Million Mom Society started as a Facebook group. And I was rapidly approaching 40, and I had a great job of 10 years in a male-dominated industry. I ticked all the boxes that any corporate American woman would want to tick: 6 figures, work from home, flexibility, seniority, great boss, all the things.
Yeah.
But something was missing, and my cup was just not full after 10 years. And that job served me very well for 10 years, but I was evolving and becoming someone who I didn't even know yet. And so I had this spiritual awakening, and I literally woke up one day and I was like, I have to help women. And I didn't know how I was going to do that or what I was going to do. But as we say now, the how is none of your business.
Right.
It's all about the why and the who. And so I knew why I wanted to help women. I had overcome a lot of trauma in my life. I know that I wanted to help women in business specifically because I had always been, an entrepreneur. And so I really started my entrepreneurship journey in 2020 when my twins were born. And so that's kind of why we focus on moms. However, we cater to all women. We have lots of clients and people in our audience who are not moms. So yes, absolutely. Along the way, I met my business partner, Natasha, and I had just recently moved to Florida from New Jersey, and she lived in California. So we were like on opposite coasts, following along each other's journeys. And she was growing a Facebook group and I was growing a Facebook group, and she was watching my journey. I was watching hers. And all of a sudden my group was like overnight at 5,000 people. And
Wow.
she was like, what are you doing? How can we come together and like, build an absolute empire together instead of doing all these things separately? We were in a bunch of network marketing things, just, lots of side hustles combined instead of one focused business. And so that's how Million Dollar Mom Society was born. It all started as a Facebook group. And now we have over 16,000 women in that community just a little over a year and a half later.
Wow.
And we built a 7-figure brand in 1 year. So we started out, our first offer was teaching women how to grow and monetize Facebook groups. That's what got us to hit our first 6 figures in 6 months. And then I saw an opportunity to be on a TV show called Legacy Makers. And of course, my imposter syndrome was going crazy. Like, who am I to apply for this show? I've never been on TV before. I've been in business for like 5 minutes. But I always like to say what's the best that could happen. And I didn't even know God's plan for me at the time. So Natasha and I, last January, actually a year ago, we went to Miami. It was the first time we had ever met each other in person, and we recorded for that TV show. And that
Amazing.
opportunity led to the producers of that show reaching back out to us and saying, we love what you're doing. We love your brand. We love your mission in the world to help women in business. Would you like your own docuseries? And so we were like, yes, please. Where do we sign?
Right.
And the rest is history. So we just hosted our first annual event, the $1 Million Room in Laguna Beach in November. It was an absolute success. We had 100 women gathered, 15 speakers on the stage, and the whole thing was filmed for our 6-part docuseries, which will come out in March. And that led us to launching our own TV network. And now we have our own TV shows, and we have women who can have their own TV shows on our network. And that's where we're really headed for 2026.
Wow. Okay, so I don't have any other questions. That
Just
was
a little
pretty-
badass, right?
That was it. That was just it. So, okay, here's your badass badge. It's in the mail. I love how you're like, well, and I decided to start my own business when I had twins. I'm like, that's the first thing I would think of. I've got 2 infant babies, and I'm going to
Well, you know
start
what
my
it
own
was?
business.
Like, COVID had just hit. I gave birth March 31st, 2020. We had no idea what to expect,
my
right?
God.
So everybody's
Wow.
shut down. Everybody's working from home. I'm on maternity leave. A lot of people are like going off the deep end on, while we're shut down. Me, I see opportunity everywhere I go. So I said, I'm going to utilize this time to learn how to bring income in from my home, because who knows when we're leaving the house again. You know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that all started. And I just dove into like all things digital marketing, network marketing, affiliate marketing, all the marketing. And so that's really where I got my start.
That's amazing. And I do think that, the pandemic did kind of, people went one way or the other, that they're like, I'm going to drink more, or I'm going to actually take this time to explore other things that I wouldn't normally have the time. It's like, you're stuck in your house. So what else are you going to do? So I think that's amazing. And I love that you turned it into an opportunity. And it sounds like, that's kind of your mindset. When you were in corporate America, were you in marketing there as well? Or what was your role in corporate America, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't mind at all. I was in freight brokerage and logistics. So it had absolutely nothing to do with, anything that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But I did pick up a lot of skill sets along the way. Like, of course, there's always, in any business, there's sales, there's marketing, there's customer service, there's logistics, there's operations, all the different things. And, having done that for 10 years, I acquired those skill sets, and I take them with me into my business. And one other thing I will note is that my boss was a very successful business owner for 30 years, and I watched him. Because a lot of times we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And so I wanted to know why. Why are you making this decision when maybe I would have gone this way? And, they say if you want to be successful, you find somebody and you do exactly what they did. So he was a very calculated man, and I paid attention to every move he made, because I after a while, shifted from that employee mindset to a CEO mindset. And I was like, okay, I want to look at this from a business owner standpoint, not an employee's. And
Yeah.
so I carried that with me into my business.
I think that's brilliant, and that's a great strategy. I think a lot of people, women especially, have a hard time getting out of that employee mindset, especially if you've been in corporate America for X number of years. You've got a six-figure income. You're very comfortable. I was the same way, but I also parallel always had some sort of side hustle, like you were saying, or some other thing where I was just that entrepreneurial spirit was in me. And it sounds like it was in you too. And like you said, I've got this role model right in front of me. I'm going to watch him, and I'm not going to do maybe exactly, but I'm going to take all of the good pieces of the things that he's putting out there, and I'm just going to tweak them and make them my own, which is brilliant. So can you speak a little bit to what it's like and what your process was? And maybe I'm assuming that maybe you teach this as well, how to go from that employee mindset to more of a CEO mindset, because that's a big shift for a lot of people.
It is. And everything begins with mindset. And it took me decades to change my mindset. I grew up in the 80s with a single mom. Everything was very scarcity. There was, I always say the love in my home was abundant, but everything else was very scarce. We can't afford this. We can't have that. Everything's paycheck to paycheck, very tight. And a lot of negativity. My family was toxic in the way that everybody talked about each other. And I just kind of thought this was normal behavior.
Yeah.
And then I got out into the real world and I realized that this is not normal behavior and you don't have to live your life like this. And I think that the majority of people do. Like a lot of people utilize social media to just scroll mindlessly, and there's a lot of complaining and back and forth arguing with strangers on the internet. And I don't partake in any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that stuff really keeps us down, and it's designed that way. When my mother passed away in 2017, the same year that I was engaged to be married, I was planning a wedding, and then all of a sudden I was planning a funeral. I went off the deep end. It was like Hot Mess Express, okay? So I was just distraught. And then I found personal development and everything changed. And I found The Secret and the Law of Attraction and all that kind of stuff. And that's where I really started deep diving into the mindset work. And it's really just about doing the work. It's about educating yourself, surrounding yourself by the right types of people, because most of the people typically, your friends and family that you've been hanging out with for the past however many years are not going to be the people that are going to dig you out of a negative mindset. And the employee mindset is toxic because you just think differently than a CEO does. Your decisions are different from day to day. You don't care about the business the way that the owner does. So I really wanted to make shifts. And so I shifted my personal life so that I could become the woman who could hold the pressure of being a CEO, because it's not easy. It is not easy. And being an entrepreneur is not for the weak, and it's not for everyone, and that's okay. But even if you're not shifting from an employee mindset to a CEO mindset, I highly recommend finding some kind of personal development to where you can just live your best life.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And because, like you said, when you're surrounded by toxicity and people that are just negative, and even the internet, right? If I was talking to a friend the other day who is a very positive, heart-centered person, and they were just feeling down about everything that's going on in the world. And I said, here's the thing. You are love and light yourself. And what you typically put out in the world is that. And you need to continue doing that rather than being sucked into the darkness and everything that's going on and the negativity, because it really does make a difference. And I think it's hard sometimes when we do feel down ourselves to be able to be like, okay, no, what do I have to feel grateful for? What do I have to feel positive about? How can I be the beacon, right? How can I be the light? And so I think that I really applaud you for being able to recognize that and get away from that, Because, the thing is, if you're not around people that are challenging you in a positive way, then you're going to stay exactly where you are. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
So I want to know a little bit more. I think it's funny when Natasha, you guys were on this parallel path and she was watching your Facebook group and you're like, how did you go to like a what do you think you did differently to attract that kind of membership into your little Facebook group that you were like, wow, what's going on here? Why? Yeah. Did you question yourself? Like, how did I get 5,000 people in my group?
Yeah, so she was like, I was all excited that I just grew my group to 400 people and you're over here with 5,000 people. She's like, what are you doing differently? And it's really simple. I hired a coach. I hired a coach. And so I learned, or I might not have even hired a coach. I think I bought a course.
Okay.
And the creator of the course, helped with some strategy there. And I didn't take everything, like I didn't do it cookie cutter the way she did hers, but I took bits and pieces of it and then I made it my own and then I implemented it. And it just took off it just exploded overnight. We were adding 100 people a day to our Facebook group.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Facebook groups scare me a little bit.
Yeah.
Only because you don't own it, right? They could just shut that off anytime.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen people with hundreds of thousands of group members get shut down
gone.
And it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually the strategy I'll share that we were using is collecting emails. So everybody that came in the group, we had it automated. It was fully automated where they came in the group, they answered questions, they left their emails. About 60% would leave emails. So that's how we grew our email list to over 10,000 members.
Nice.
But that's what the biggest thing that we taught is we don't own social media platforms, but we do own our email lists. And that's where we do most of our selling, in our email.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, it's really true. And as long as you nurture that and not, I have a love-hate relationship with email. And I mean, from my email list too, I like to provide content, provide value. I get so many marketing emails that it's like 3 times a day I'm like, that is over the top, please make it stop. Because I don't find that valuable. So I'm just kind of like, okay, delete. Let me get off that list. But yes, email lists are very powerful. I'd like to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about what you actually do inside your community, in your society. How do you go about helping women inside that join the $1 Million Mom Society?
Yes. So we have built a visibility ecosystem for women in business. It's a one-stop shop for women to get visible so they can scale their businesses. So we have our mastermind, which women can join. We have what's called the society, which is like a very low-cost monthly membership where we do hot seat coaching and we have expert guest speakers come in and do some hot seat coaching and share on topics as well. But primarily we share visibility opportunities and position women in places. For example, a couple days ago, actually, I just flew home from New York City because we were on a Times Square billboard. Now, being on a Times Square billboard is, you're not going to automatically get clients. The people walking by Times Square aren't going to 15 seconds see you on the billboard and say hey, I want to hire her. No, it's what you make of it. So this is what we coach women on, is what you make of your visibility opportunities. So we have a magazine. You can be in our magazine, you can be on the cover of our magazine. But if you just do nothing with it after you are in the magazine, nothing's going to come of it. It doesn't matter if it's our magazine, doesn't matter if it's Forbes, all the heavy hitters, you see them as seen on, in Forbes, on TV, on this channel, NBC, everywhere else. These media hits and these visibility opportunities, you have to blow them up and make them a big deal. And that is what we teach women how to do and how to scale their businesses very quickly.
That's pretty cool. I love the Times Square thing. That is such
cool.
That's amazing. You're like, oh my God, here we are. But yeah, it does really open up a lot of opportunities. I mean, just the media being able to take your picture in front of your, big display, that's pretty cool. So visibility, tell me a little bit more about visibility for people that don't understand, what that actually means. Because yes, everybody would like to be on the cover of Forbes or have an article in Forbes or whatever. But when you say visibility, what exactly are you talking about, and how can that exponentially grow your audience? I understand it, but some of our people that are listening may not.
Yeah. And you know what? It's such a buzzword right now and it's getting thrown around a lot. And so we really want to hone in on what it is and how it can help you. So right now we're actually in the middle of a 31-day visibility challenge where every single day we're giving women that have joined this challenge, it's a free challenge, an action, a prompt to go get visible. And there's a variety of ways, 31 days, there's so many different ways. It's not just about speaking on stage or being on billboards, right? Yeah, so those are some of the bigger ways, but there's other things you can do too. Getting visible is going and supporting another woman's Facebook post and commenting on it. Now you're visible on that post. Getting visible is going and maybe going on Eventbrite or Meetup and finding an event or a meeting or some sort of, whether it's virtual or in-person networking thing or not, and attending and showing up at it. And not just, if you're going to go to something, not just sitting in the back of the room taking notes, but really connecting with other people. Now you're visible in the room. It's about, if you're ready to speak on stages, great. If you're not ready to speak on stages, join a virtual summit. Most of them have options where you can do a pre-recorded 20-minute masterclass. We have our top 100 women in power that we do. We offer women to have a pre-recorded 20-minute talk. And then if they want to do a keynote live, they can do that. And so that's a way to get visible. And so many women are putting them on, so it depends. Like if you're in the health and wellness industry, go find somebody else that's also in the health and wellness industry that's you can collaborate with, and maybe do an interview swap on each other's pages, because your audiences are they both care about health and wellness, right? So maybe you do gut health and somebody else does, something else. And then you go and do an interview swap either in each other's Facebook groups or whatever, Facebook page. Podcast interviews, getting on podcasts is a great way to boost your visibility. You're borrowing other people's audiences. This is how we really grew our audience very rapidly. And so being able to collaborate with other women and borrow audiences. I mean, you could do email swaps with other women. There's so many different things. You can write articles in magazines. A lot of them are free. It's free to write an article in our magazine. Endless amount of visibility opportunities. We publish anthology books. Women can contribute a chapter in that. You can self-publish a book on Amazon. And then a lot of women will come to us and say, well, what about the book sales? What about the royalties? And we're like, we don't write books to make book sales. We write them for the visibility and the authority and the credibility. So these are some ways. You don't have to have 1 million followers on Instagram. As a matter of fact, I think I have 2,500 followers on Instagram, and we scaled to 7 figures in a year. So it's just about the way you position yourself every single day. And the most important part of it is consistency. It's not, I was in a magazine 6 months ago. Like, okay, great. Well, what are you doing now? And what have you done in between? Because it's all of the things. Everybody wants to know, how do you get to $1 million? How do you get to $1 million? It's not one thing. It's every single step that you take consistently every single day, and it compounds over time. And you plant seeds, and then they sprout, and then you harvest them. And that's how it works.
Yes, I love that you said that, and I love that you talked about collaboration, because collaboration is huge, and I know that especially from the podcasting space, that does really open up so many opportunities for, like you said, email swaps, pod swaps, doing introductions on somebody else's show to whatever, and just also that you said there's no magic pill. There is no magic pill. I mean, I think it's difficult because we see these people with millions of followers, or they have millions of views on their viral thing. And you think, oh my God, if I just go viral, then, I've had viral posts that have had over 6 million views. But, did that equate to 6 million clients? No, it didn't. It's not, like you said, it's got to be consistent and just incrementally increasing your exposure. So I love that you said, there's no get rich quick scheme. Because I'm in real estate, and I know it's like real estate is not a get rich quick theme. It's an
A
over
long
time.
game.
It's a long game, right? So is this. Although you've had pretty quick success, so
Yeah, and I like to just touch on that a little bit. I'm also a real estate investor. My husband and I started investing in real estate. We had a wholesale business. I still do to this day. I do it in the background because
yeah,
I know that real estate is one of the greatest ways to generational wealth, but it
yeah,
is a long game. And you got to be in it, and you got to be able to
yeah,
ebb and flow with the market because
yeah.
it's not easy. And so what I want to say about that is I'll give you an example. I had a woman on a sales call the other day, and I said, "Oh, I noticed your area code is the same as mine." I said, "Where do you live?" And she lived the next town over. And she said, "I met you 2 years ago at a networking event, and I've been following you ever since." And now she was ready to buy something.
Yeah.
These are the seeds. I like to talk about pineapple season. So a pineapple takes 18 months to grow from seed to sprout, and from seed to harvest, and it can only produce one pineapple at a time. So double the time of a human baby it takes to get a pineapple. And all of these seeds that we started planting 18 months ago, we're now starting to harvest. I mean, we harvest some of them along the way that were a little bit, here and there. But a lot of the major ones that we invested in, they take a long time. And so the key is we never stopped planting.
Right.
So we're compounding over time. We planted, but then we continued to plant and just never stopped. And so we will continue to harvest because that's just the way it works. And you're building up your audience over time. We have so many people that come into our world and, they just want to see, they just want to taste, or maybe they just want to attend the free event for the month. We do a free event every single month because this is how we're getting people into our world. And once they're in our world, then we can nurture them. And that's really how it works. That's how the magic happens.
Yeah. And don't give up. Right. Just like you said, keep planting, because it's a cycle. It's just like I have a background in tech and training and software development and all of that. And it's just like, iterate, evaluate, recreate, assess, and just keep going. It's like, okay, well, why is this particular little seed kind of struggling over here? What does it need? More water? Does it need more fertilizer? Does it need more sun? Or is it just kind of a seed and we'll just toss it out and put another seed in its place? Right?
Absolutely. And if it is, it's okay. It's okay to let go of things that are not serving you. And we do that quite often. I mean, we don't like to pivot all the time, but if we see something is not working, then we're not afraid to let it go. Even if we've invested in it, it's fine. There's been things along the way we've invested tens of thousands of dollars in and didn't pan out the way we thought it would.
Yeah.
And you're not going to hold, it's like staying in a toxic relationship, like how long are you going to hold on to it? And so it's okay to let things go. And I really think that, you just, like you said, just never give up and keep going. A lot of us, we live in this world where everything is on demand. We want everything right here, right now. And so we will get excited about an idea and then maybe invest in it. And then all of a sudden we don't see results within a week. And we're like, well, this doesn't work. And it's like, okay, it's okay to pivot, but at least give something 90 days to 6 months to see if, it's going to pan out, because you wouldn't eat a salad for lunch and then get on the scale an hour later and say, why am I not thin yet? You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Or eat the salad and then wash it down with a burger and fries. Yeah. Not that I would ever do that. Yeah. Yeah, those are all. So I just want to go back to one thing. And you kind of talked about taking up space or giving yourself permission. Why do you think it's difficult for women to, and we were talking about this in the realm of visibility. Why do you think women have a hard time giving themselves permission to be visible?
It's fear. It's fear of what other people are going to say about them. It's fear of failure. It's fear of success. Women are afraid that, most women are afraid that, especially if let's say they're fairly new in their business and they're just starting, they're hearing all this buzz about getting visible. And so now they're starting to get visible, but maybe the people on their social media are friends and family who don't have the nicest things to say. When I told my friends and family that I was leaving a 6-figure job of 10 years, they called me a lot of things, and smart wasn't one of them. Now I make 6 figures in a day. So, I mean, it's just a matter of being able to get over that fear. And I think a lot of women think that you need all this confidence. And I just want you to know, ladies, like, confidence is not what you need. The confidence will come. Courage is what you need. You need courage and consistency to take action every single day, show up for yourself. If you started something, you did it because there's a mission that's on your heart, or you have some sort of a passion that you want to accomplish, and there's a reason for it. I believe we're all put here for a reason, and a lot of us don't get to fulfill on that. And when we get the opportunity to, and we get a clear vision on how we're going to get there, and we just take massive action every single day, and we show up for ourselves, and we don't let the negative comments and people get in our way, we will achieve our goals.
We will. And I was curious about, I think the other thing that scares women is money. And just the title of your, the $1 Million Mom Society. Do you think that is intimidating to some people? Like, I don't deserve $1 million. I'll never be a millionaire. I can't do that. Do you know what I mean? Do you think, do you hear that from any of you're like, well, I don't know.
It was intentional. When we decided on the name of our business, we wanted something big and bold. And we said, we're going to set this goal and we're going to get there. And there's going to be a lot of people who are intimidated along the way. I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, I'm not a millionaire. I can't be part of your Facebook group. And I'm like, why? And how do you know you're not a millionaire? Maybe you are. Maybe you just haven't cashed the check yet, So I think that the word definitely scares people. And that is why we use it in our brand, because we want to attract the people who are not intimidated by it. And if they are, we want to let them know that they don't need to be, because we are just regular women out here. I have 5-year-old twins. My business partner has a 3 and a 4-year-old. We're wives, we're friends, we're sisters, we're cousins, moms. We're just regular women with a dream that we want to help other women in the world see themselves. So, for example, our event, the $1 Million Room that we hosted in November, in that room, mostly very high caliber female entrepreneurs, women doing multiple 6, 7, 8, 9 figures already, but also women who are just starting out because they dared to step into a room that would stretch them and make them feel just a little uncomfortable and get out of their comfort zone so that they could be stretched to that capacity and say, if she can do it, I can do it. Because we all started somewhere, and everything, every business, Amazon, Apple, all started with an idea. And we get these ideas in our head, and then we don't want to go after them. And so for the women that were in that room, that was one audience. However, for the 1 billion viewers that are going to watch this TV show, that's a different audience. And that's for the woman who's sitting in her living room. Maybe she's a stay-at-home mom. Maybe she's working a shitty 9-to-5, excuse my language. And she's like, is there more for me in this life? Well, now you just saw close to 20 women step on a stage and tell you they were where you were once. Now they're here. And yes, there's more for you in this life.
I'm so glad that you brought that up too. And I, like I said, I just was about coming into that room, right? And how the women that were not already 6, 7 figure entrepreneurs dared to step into that room and take that small step to be like, okay, I'm in a room with really successful people. It's got to rub off one way or another. And not just that, but also it challenges you to show up in a different way. What are they doing? What are they bringing to the table? What can I learn from them? Very much like you did with your mentor that didn't realize he was your mentor, right? Your boss. figuring out what he was doing and how he became successful. So I love that that is such a rich opportunity that people really do need to take advantage of those opportunities. It's like, signing up for an online, webinar or whatever and upgrading to the VIP or the platinum. Get that extra experience. Push yourself to be in those spaces, like you said, that make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, 100%. And I attend a lot of events. As a matter of fact, leading up to our event, me and my husband and our 5-year-old twins went on a 40-day road trip, traveling around the country, attending events, speaking on stage, talking to women. And I do events differently than most people. Most people go into an event with a consumer mindset. They sit in the back of the room, they consume what's, being spoken to them on the stage, they take notes, they leave, and they do absolutely nothing with anything that they've consumed.
Right.
I go in with a CEO mindset. I do it very differently. I'm connecting with people. I don't attend an event if I'm not able to be VIP, because that's where the magic happens, where you're in an intimate setting with less people who have invested to be there. You really want to try to connect with those people. I like to, if there's a Facebook group for the event, I like to connect with the women who are in that Facebook group and showing up for themselves at the event before they've even arrived. I like to see, do you want to get coffee afterwards? Do you want to break bread? I had an event that I attended in April, and I wasn't even a speaker on that stage. And I walked out of there with multiple 6 figures in revenue just from that one event. Now, not that day, but compounded over time from the connections that I made inside that room, and then the continued follow-up that I did after. And so this is what we teach inside of our community.
Yeah. And I'm listening, and I'm consuming. No, I'm taking in all the things that you're saying, and I'm thinking about somebody that might be listening, thinking like, oh my God, that sounds like so much. I wouldn't know. How would I even, I think it sounds like mind blowing to some people that are like, I could never do that. How do you address that?
Yeah, so that's a mindset shift. And if you tell yourself that you can't do something, then you're not going to do it. But here's one thing that I did when I was working through the personal development and everything like that. I changed the way I think about things. So instead of saying, I can't have this, I would say, how can I have this? Or I can't afford to upgrade to first class. What can I do? What steps can I take so that I can afford to upgrade to first class? Things like that. So just these little mindset shifts, and plug yourself in with women who are already walking their walk or walking their talk, doing this every single day. Surround yourself in these types of communities. Don't surround yourself by negative people who are telling you, oh, you could never do that, because that's not about you. That's about them and
Absolutely.
The way they feel. The way they feel when they feel like, oh, if she could do it, maybe I have to take a look at myself, and why am I not stepping up?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that talk that comes from other people is centered in, jealousy. And I don't want to see you succeed, because then I'll look like crap. Right?
Absolutely.
I'll look like I'm just sitting on my couch eating bonbons, and you're meanwhile sitting in first class eating bonbons. What the heck's going on here?
Exactly.
That's really cool. I love that. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, I would love to know, well, first, I'm kind of dying to know a little bit about the TV thing as well. So first, before we actually get into the wrap-up section, you said you just started a TV network that came out of the series that you filmed. Is that correct?
Yeah, so our docuseries will air in March of 2026. It'll be on all the platforms, Roku TV, Inside Success, Tubi, Amazon Fire, I believe. And then from that, we decided that we wanted to start our own network, because if we're saying, if other people can do it, we can do it too. And there's really no one-stop shop where women can go to like a Netflix and just consume episode upon episode of women who are out here in the world doing amazing things. So our flagship show is called Women of Influence. And every single episode will be interviewing a woman who is either an entrepreneur or a business owner or doing something big in the world where she's got a mission-driven idea or business, and she's out here trying to change the world in one way or another. And so that will be airing very soon, and it'll be on all the same networks that I just mentioned, and more. And so we're really excited about it. It's, a network for women, by women, about women. And along with our brand, it's called the $1 Million Network. So it might be intimidating to some people. I'm hoping that it's exciting and enticing to people. Say, oh, I want to watch that. Like, look at what these women are doing, because we want to show the world that women on TV are not just desperate housewives. We're not just sex symbols. If you're a sex symbol, you can still be on our show. We are, that's not all we are. We're so much more. And we're building businesses and empires, and we're doing it during nap time and school pickups and all this kind of stuff. So that's what it's all about. And we're excited to bring it to the world.
That is so cool. I applaud you for just being so innovative and, and creative, and just saying, hey, yeah, we can do this. We can start a magazine. We can start a TV network. Why not? What's to stop us? And what happened? What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen, as you said earlier? Part. And that is, because if you say what's the worst that could happen, guess what's going to happen? That one.
Absolutely.
So I love the language around, what's the best that could happen? It could be a huge success, and there you go. Anything that you would like to leave the audience with? That I know that this is definitely going to get some mind juices flowing and get some people thinking, you know what, it's 2026. This is something I've been sitting on for a really long period of time. I'm ready to move forward. So what would you say to those women?
Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are correct. And just start now. Do it messy. You're going to make mistakes along the way. That's okay. They're learning curves. And every time you make a mistake, the next time you go back out to do something, you're doing it with knowledge, and you're doing it with more expertise and knowing how to not fail. So just start, and don't worry about what anybody thinks about it. Just worry about your mission.
I love that. Thank you so much. And how can people get in touch with you and your partner and the $1 Million Mom Society?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can join our Facebook group, $1 Million Mom Society, or you can go to milliondollarmom.org. We're on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. On Facebook, I'm Anisa Crespo. Instagram, I'm Keeping Up with the Crespos. Or you can follow $1 Million Mom Inc. on Instagram as well. And look out for us. We've got our shows coming out, and we're excited. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for being on. It's very inspiring, and I wish you all the best of luck with all of your things. And you're already successful, and I'm just going to wish you continued success. So for those of you who have joined us today and have been listening to Anisa's story and learning more about all of the things that she does, if this episode has resonated with you, and I'm sure it has, start taking that step to move forward and share this episode with a friend who might actually like to be your partner on this journey. So be successful, think successful, and you will be successful. This is Sue Willoughby with Midlife Strategies for Badass Women, and I will be back next week with another inspiring guest.